Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamu Dhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So it's Sri Krsna Janmastami. Say in vernacular, the birthday of Sri Krishna. More technically, it's the anniversary of the appearance day of Sri Krishna. And it's September 6th, 2023. And we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 28. Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 28. Okay. We'll start with the Sanskrit words responsively. Ete, cha, amsha, kala, pumsa, Krishna, tu, Bhagavan, Swayam, Indrari, Vyakulam, Lokam, Vidayanti, Yuge Yuge, Ete Chamsakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Vidayanti Yuge Yuge, Ete Chamsakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Vidayanti Yuge Yuge, Ete Chamsakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Vidayanti Yuge Yuge, Ete Chamsakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Vidayanti Yuge Yuge, Ete Chamsakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam, Vidayanti Yuge Yuge. Would anyone else like to lead the recitation of the verse? Okay, we'll do the word meanings. Ete, all these. Cha, and. Amsha, plenary portions. Kala, portions of the plenary portions. Pumsa, of the Supreme. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Tu, but. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Swayam, in person. Indra Ari, the enemies of Indra. Vyakulam, disturbed. Lokam, all the planets. Mridyanti, gives protection, Yuge, in different ages. Translation. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. Okay, so we'll go to Srila Prabhupada's purport. It's an extensive purport, and I'll note this is Canto 1, Chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is entitled Krishna is the Source of All Incarnations. Text 28, purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this particular stanza, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is distinguished from other incarnations. He is counted amongst the avatars, incarnations, because out of his causeless mercy, the Lord descends from his transcendental abode. Avatar means one who descends. We can just pause there. The term avatar in the past 10, 20 years has become well known, just like decades ago, terms like yoga, different Sanskrit terms, guru, karma became known in the 60s, 70s. So avatar has become known. So here we hear this is the actual meaning of avatar, one who descends from up to down. All the incarnations of the Lord, including the Lord himself, descend on the different planets of the material world as also in different species of life to fulfill particular missions. Sometimes he comes himself, and sometimes his different plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions or his differentiated portions, directly or indirectly empowered by him, descend on this material world to execute certain specific functions. Originally, the Lord is full of all opulences, all prowess, all fames, all beauties, all knowledge, and all renunciations. When they are partly manifested through the plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions, it should be noted that certain manifestations of his different powers are required for those particular functions. When in the room, small electric bulbs are displayed, it does not mean that the electric powerhouse is limited by the small bulbs. The same powerhouse can supply power to operate large-scale industrial dynamos with greater volts. Similarly, the incarnations of the Lord display limited powers because so much power is needed at that particular time. For example, Lord Parashuram and Lord Nishinga displayed unusual opulence by killing the disobedient Kshatriyas 21 times and killing the greatly powerful atheist Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful that even the demigods and other planets would tremble simply by the unfavorable raising of his eyebrow. The demigods in the higher level of material existence many, many times excel the most well-to-do human beings in duration of life, beauty, wealth, paraphernalia, and in all other respects. Still, they were afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Thus, we can simply imagine how powerful Hiranyakashipu was in this material world. But even Hiranyakashipu was cut into small pieces by the nails of Lord Nrsimha. This means that anyone materially powerful cannot stand the strength of the Lord's nails. Similarly, Jamadagnya displayed the Lord's power to kill all the disobedient kings powerfully situated in their respective states. The Lord's empowered incarnation, Narada, and plenary incarnation, Varaha, as well as indirectly empowered Lord Buddha, created faith in the mass of people. The incarnations of Ram and Dhanvantari displayed his fame, and Balaram, Mohini, and Vamana exhibited his beauty. Dattatreya, Matsya, Kumara, and Kapil exhibited his transcendental knowledge. Narayana, Rishis exhibited his renunciation. So all the different incarnations of the Lord indirectly or directly manifested different features. But Lord Krishna, the primeval Lord, exhibited the complete features of Godhead, and thus it is confirmed that he is the source of all other incarnations. And the most extraordinary feature exhibited by Lord Sri Krishna was his internal energetic manifestation of his pastimes with the cowherd girls. His pastimes with the gopis are all displays of transcendental existence, bliss, and knowledge, although these are manifested apparently as sex love. The specific attraction of his pastimes with the gopis should never be misunderstood. The Bhagavatam relates these transcendental pastimes in the 10th canto. And in order to reach the position to understand the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, the Bhagavatam promotes the student gradually in 9 other cantos. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's statement, in accordance with authoritative sources, Lord Krishna is the source of all other incarnations. It is not that Lord Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the supreme truth in full are present in the person of Lord Sri Krishna, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord emphatically declares that there is no truth greater than or equal to himself. In this stanza, the word Svayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places the incarnations are described as Bhagavan because of their specific functions, nowhere are they declared to be the Supreme Personality. In this stanza, the word Svayam signifies the supremacy as the summum bonum. The summum bonum Krishna is one without a second. He himself has expanded himself in various parts, portions, and particles as Svayam Rupa, Svayam Prakash, Tade Katma Prabhava, Vaibhava, Vilas, Avatar, Avesh, and Jivas, all provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the summum bonum Krishna to have 64 principal attributes. All the expansions or categories of the Lord possess only some percentage of these attributes, but Sri Krishna is the possessor of the attributes 100%, and his personal expansions such as Svayam Prakash, Tade Katma, up to the categories of the avatars, who are all Vishnu Tattva, possess up to 93% of these transcendental attributes. Lord Shiva, who is neither avatar nor Avesh, nor in between them, possesses almost 84% of the attributes, but the Jivas, or the individual living beings in different statuses of life, possess up to the limit of 78% of the attributes. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of the pious life of the living being. The most perfect of living beings is Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity, whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. The standard of perfection for a human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. The living being can become godly by developing the 78% transcendental attributes in fullness, but he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna. He can become a Brahma in due course. The godly living beings, who are all residents of the planets in the spiritual sky, are eternal associates of God in different spiritual planets called Haridam and Maheshdam. The abode of Lord Krishna above all spiritual planets is called Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, and the perfected living being, by developing 78% of the above attributes in fullness, can enter the planet of Krishna Loka after leaving the present material body. Om Ganatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Terati Svapadantikum Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragana Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta namostute, tapta kanchana gaurange, radhe vrindavaneshware, vrishabhanu sute devi, pranamami hari priye, vanchakalpa tayubhyascha, kripa sindhu bheva cha patitanan, pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 3 Text 28 Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam Indra Vyakulam Lokam Midyanti Yuge Yuge. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. The Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets. Whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists, the Lord incarnates to protect the theists. Hare Krishna. Today is Sri Krishna Janmastami, the appearance day of Lord Sri Krishna. During a japa period, Sanaka Rishi Prabhu came here for an hour and a half. So that reminded me that my first Janmastami was late summer 1983 in Italy, in Villa Vrindavan. I was actually my first two Janmastamis were Italy, because the next year, 1984, I was there again under different circumstances. And in 1983, I was backpacking around Europe on the Ural Pass, and I stopped at it's a bhakti ashram outside of Florence, Italy, Villa Vrindavan. I think it was I think this place was built hundreds of years ago by Machiavelli or some famous Italian philosopher or something like that. And so I was a backpacker and like that with the big Jew fro and that sort of thing. And so I remember it was John. I didn't know what Janmastami was, but I remember there was 1,108 gorgeous, opulent prasadam preparations, and I don't want to promote stereotypes, but prepared by Italian devotee cooks. It was just a whole feel for the whole luxuriant opulence of it. So, anyhow, it was then that I realized I found my spiritual path. The next year also, I was that was my after I had escaped from the deprogrammers, the kidnappers. I went from Iowa to Chicago to St. College, Pennsylvania, back to Philly, saw my folks, then back to Europe, and I ended up again in 1984, Sri Krishna Janmastami at Villa Vrindavan in Italy. And I, apart from the prasadam, I remember because in those experiences that because it was a fast day, and I certainly wasn't used to fasting. So for those who choose to observe, Janmashtami is like fasting from food and water till midnight, because Krishna appeared at midnight. Then midnight, that's when the feast is happening. For those who choose to observe that. And so, but I definitely noticed that, like, because it was absorbed in kirtan, and I was japa and pastimes of Krishna. There was gorgeous deities, and there was even okay. And it was this intense absorption, intense container. And I noticed like myself experiencing like transcendental to the usual bodily needs. I was actually experiencing it palpably, transcendental to eating and sleeping and thirst and sex desire and like that. I was like noticing it at those Janmastamis. I thought, oh, this process is as powerful. There are some similarities there to, okay, the main hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, he hasn't appeared yet. This is the first canto, but at the end of the first canto, the main hearer is Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit, and the main speaker, Shukadeva Goswami. And so Maharaj Parikshit, it's a pastime, but basically he got himself into trouble because he did not control his hunger and thirst. He was hunting, and then he saw some ashram, and he went to the sage. It was Sami Karishi. He went to the sage. Oh, he want some water. He was thirsty, and but the sage was not impolite. The sage was just in deep meditation, so he didn't give attention to the king, Maharaj Parikshit. And then Maharaj Parikshit got angry, like, I just want some water. I'm the king. I mean, like that. And then the sage, he, in his anger, Maharaj Parikshit, he wrapped a dead snake around the sage's neck in anger. So the sage's son, a little boy, found out about it. So the sage, when he woke up, oh, okay, wasn't a thing. He's completely detached. But the sage's son got offended. And the sage's son was a Brahmin with potency, with power. And he cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days by the bite of a snake. Now, Maharaj Parikshit, he had so many powers as devotee of Krishna, he could have counteracted the curse, but he chose not to. And so he chose instead to sit on the bank of the Ganges and to hear Bhagavatam for 7 days without eating or drinking. So I'm making the point here that even as the cantos went on and the days went on, Maharaj Parikshit, several times he says, I'm so absorbed in the pastimes of Krishna, in hearing about Krishna and Krishna's avatars and Krishna's devotees, that I'm not even slightly affected by hunger or thirst or like that. So I experienced a glimpse of that outside of Florence, Italy, in my early days, connected with Krishna consciousness. So meaning that, that these are transcendentally potent pastimes, and we can understand that Maharaj Parikshit. So these are the main Vedic personalities: Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami, Vyasadeva, Sutta Goswami, Saunaka Rishi. These are the main hearers and speakers. Vidura, Maitreya, and all they were. So these are the main, because we hear a lot about the Vedas, yoga, and so many things. But the key personalities of Bhagavatam, they just want to hear and speak about Krishna. They just want to hear and speak about. Now, there might be some other things to support people, to meet people where they're at, to support them to come to just being eager to hear and chant about Krishna. Okay? So we mentioned Vyasadeva. Okay, so Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedas. Again, in lots of places, you can hear, Vedas this, yoga this, guru, and so many things. But who wrote the Vedas? The term "write" is not exactly. It's like transpersonal authorship. Okay, it's not like like in a mundane writing a book. It's transpersonal authorship. It's revelation through Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Atharva Veda, etc., etc. He compiled the Vedas. He's the writer of the Vedas. Okay, so it's a story described also in this canto. We won't go into it much. Well, first of all, so Krishna says, so Krishna says that I, Krishna, in my literary incarnation as Vyasadeva, I compiled all the Vedas. And Bhagavad Gita describes the goal of all the Vedas is devotional service to Krishna. Yoginam api sarvesham madhyatena tratmana shradhavan bhajateyumam samayuktatamomata. That's at the conclusion of the chapter where Krishna talks about like Hatha Yoga and the asanas and things like that. And Krishna explains very clearly. So the goal of all that, the ultimate goal, of course, there can be byproducts like good health and muscle tone and it's nice, but the goal is to be peaceful enough to meditate on Krishna within the heart. And in that meditation, to develop enthusiasm to serve Krishna. Yogi nama pisaveshan madgatanatratnam. Shraddhaban. But so the highest yogi, he who worships me with love and devotion. So Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedas. The Vedas are compared to like a desire tree, Nigama Tapatura, Galitambalam, Sukhamukaramita Dravi Samyatam, Pibata Bhagavatam, Rasamalayam, Muraho, Vasikabui Bavuka, the desire tree of the Vedas. And it means you can get anything you want from the Vedas. There are Vedas to meet people where they're at, whether they're in ignorance, whether they want to worship demigods to get heavenly benefits, whether anything. So there are Vedas for all of it. So Vyasadeva compiled it all. And then as a result, he was dissatisfied because he knew that people are going to miss the essence, which is this bhakti, devotional service to Krishna. So after some empathic conversation with his spiritual master, Narada Muni, this is all described in chapters 4 to 7 of the first canto. We're reading from the first canto today. So Vyasadeva, he went into a trance of bhakti, bhakti yogena manasi, samyak panihite male, apasha pusham purna, mayam chayat apashrayam. So he in his trance, he saw the absolute truth. And the absolute truth is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, means the absolute truth, the source of all other truths, the source of all energies, is not the undifferentiated oneness. It's not matter. It's not atoms. The source of all energies, the absolute truth, the substratum of all existence. That's Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And then Vyasadeva saw that people are suffering because we don't, especially in this age of Kali, because people, we don't know who we are. We misidentify the eternal spiritual self with the temporary material body. And then we're suffering, we're forgetting who we are as spirit, soul, servants of God. Anato pashamam sakshat bhakti yogam and hoksheje lokasya janatad vams chakri sattvat samhitam. So as a result, so that people, especially in this age called Kali Yuga, so that people get the goal of all the Vedas, Vyasadeva compiled the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, beautiful Dharma Pojita Koitcha Paramanemat Saranam Satam, which focuses on the devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janiyat Yashuvaya Ganam Chayadahud Hetukam. By serving Vasudeva, Krishna appeared 5,200 years ago or so as the son of Vasudeva. So he's known as Vasudeva. Vasudeva Bhagavati. So by serving Vasudeva, naturally, we get all knowledge of spirit and matter, and we get detached from embarrassing material. We get detached from all material desires that are the source of the depression and the envy and the lust and the greed and like that. So Vasudevi Bhagavati. So that refers to Bhagavan. Bhagavan means the supreme personality of Godhead. Another key verse earlier in the first canto, Vedanti tat tatvavidas tatvam yajganamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. It describes three aspects of the absolute, of realization of the absolute: the oneness of all energy, God in the heart called Paramatma, and Bhagavan, supreme personality of Godhead. And Bhagavan is the most complete realization. So who is Bhagavan? That's answered in this verse we're reading today. Krishnastu Bhagavan Svaya. Okay. So there's so many Vedas, millions and millions of verses, and not just on this planet. On higher planets, like here, the Mahabharat's 100,000 verses. On higher planets, you might get like a 3 million verse Mahabharat, and like that. So there's millions of verses in the Vedas. Arguably, the verse we're studying today is the most important verse in all the Vedas. The Bhagavatam is the most important book. Bhagavatam, along with Bhagavad Gita. We can get into where's the Bhagavad Gita fit in. But Bhagavatam's a natural follow-up to Bhagavad Gita. Because the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavate Mamuni Krite Kim Vaparishvara Sadhya Rija Vadurujate Chakri to be Shushushubis Takshana. So Vyasadeva compiled the Bhagavatam in you could say in the maturity of his literary career. He said, this is what I really want you to get. The other things are kind of just a ploy to meet you where you're at to make some progress, but this is the goal, absorption in Krishna. And we could see that not just from Vyasadev's words, but that's how he lived his life. That's how Sutta Goswami is living his life, absorption in Krishna, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastime, service to Krishna, Krishna's like that. And so this chapter is called Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So before this, about 25 avatars are described. Okay, avatars of God are described in the previous verses. Okay, so it's there's Shiva, there's Brahman, and there's Ramachandra, and there's this, and there's that, and these are all wonderful avatars. And but then is it just a mishmash, hodgepodge thing? No. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham adirhi devanam maharshinam chasarvasha. Krishna says, I'm not one of the demigods or sages or prophets. He says, I'm the source of all the demigods, sages, and prophets. Okay, so that's Bhagavad Gita. So that's here also. So Krishna in a sense, Krishna is not an incarnation. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Okay. So it's very key. It's very key. We can take all the Vedas and we understand it this way. Oh, there's different interpretations. And we'll get all the Vedas. We get all the Vedas to the extent that we embrace this verse as a reference point. Then the threads all connect into a beautiful tapestry. If we get this verse as a reference point. And we don't get this, then, well, it says this here, it says this here, and we can go on for millions of years. So this verse is the reference point. Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of God. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So he's the source of all energies. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. So Krishna, source of material and spiritual energies. Also material energies. Prabhupada gives the example of, like, let's say if someone's prisoners, and in a sense we're prisoners, this whole world is called Durga or Kali. Durga means fortress, and Kali, goddess Kali, she's a servant of Krishna. Shri sti stiti palaya sadhana shakti reka chai eva yasya bhuvanani vibharti Durga ichana api yasya chachestate sa Govinda mati pusham tamaham bhajami. So it's kind of that goddess Kali, Durga. She's a devoted servant of Krishna, and her somewhat thankless task, she's like the warden of the prison house of the material world. She's like the warden of the prison house of the material world. And so but like probably gives an example, like a prisoner can go like, we don't care about the government. Nah, we're anti-establishment. We don't care about the government. Well, what do you mean you don't care about the government? Because like this whole prison that you're in, this is the energy of the government, right? And the food you get, it's the energy of the prison guards who are keeping you in your cell. That's where they're representatives of the government. So we can do, I don't care about God, Krishna, I do my own. So the examples given, like, yeah, so like we can again with Durga, she's not like mean, but her job is to provide rehabilitation. So we get it, like, I don't want prison life anymore. Let me be a good citizen. Right? So we get to choose, and citizens of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the kingdom of God, we get to choose to, let's say, to use that metaphor, we can choose to associate with the energy or the department of the university. We could go to university, or we could act in a way where we'll end in the prison. Either way, we're going to be following the path of the government, to use the analogy. So we're going to be taking shelter of Krishna's energies. We can take shelter of the material energy, where we have we're kind of entrapped, we're encaged, we're imprisoned in material bodies, subject to all sorts of miseries. Or we can rejuvenate our original Krishna consciousness, Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Saji Kabunoi, Shravanadi Shuddhachite Kabiyayunai. Krishna consciousness is eternally, love of Krishna is eternally situated in the hearts of all living entities. That's why it's not something to be gained from some outside source. That's why it seems, oh, I didn't grow up with this. This is weird. It's strange. Same time, why does it seem like coming home? Why does it seem like coming home? Because love of Krishna is eternally situated in all souls, in all souls. And so Prabhupada gets very technical in the purport here, about the different percentages. That could be a whole interesting course in itself. We're talking about yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanama dharmasya tadatma manam srijamyam. Krishna appears regularly. He appears regularly to kind of like implore us. Like he wants us out of the prison. He wants us in happy life trillions of times more than we do. We're attached to this. Kind of like the prison food, like that. We're attached to prison life. So he appears, and that's why we celebrate. Just like there, we have so many. So this is, path of Krishna consciousness. Okay, today's Krishna's birthday, technically appearance day, because Krishna's not forced to take birth, like we're forced to take birth to try to satisfy some material desire. But all right, it's like we have so many birthdays we know. Or we know this event, national holiday, or this day, or okay. So let me get to know these eternally important days. So that started. This is my 41st Janmastami. 41st Janmastami. Tomorrow will be my 41st Srila Prabhupada Vyasa Puja. Okay, so these are days with eternal meaning, with eternal meaning, and then as we get more and more sincere about Krishna consciousness, then these personalities, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami, Shri Gauranitai, Srimati Radharani, these become the important personalities in our life. Like, oh, how can I serve? How can I serve? Right? Prabhupada references Jiva Goswami's statement. Jiva Goswami writes extensively about this verse, like hundreds and hundreds of pages. Prabhupada, it's described in the Brahma Samhita. As a travel brochure. Lord Brahma prays, I worship that transcendental seat known as Svetadweep, where as eternal loving consorts, the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous loving service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover. Where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree and the soil is the purpose gem. Where the flute is the favorite attendant, all water is nectar. Every step is a dance, every word is a song. Where the supreme spiritual entities are always enjoyable and tasty. Like a travel brochure. Where the supreme spiritual entities are always enjoyable and tasty. Where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, and where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is forever present and without past and future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away, even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. So just as related to these bodies, there's so much drama going on in so many worlds and newscasts, and we have our drama in life and financial stuff and relationship stuff. Okay. And we're not these bodies, right? We're the spirit soul inside the body. So it makes sense that if there's all this dream world, virtual reality world related to the material bodies, that there would be a much more extensive, real, crisp, and alive, vibrant world related to the soul, to the persons we actually are, the spirit souls. So that's extensively described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma goes on to pray. He goes on to sing. He's revealing his realizations of the Loka Vrindavan. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpavriksha laksha viteshu surabhira bipalayantam. Lakshmi sahasra satasam brahma sevyamanam Govinda madi purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahmish, he's revealing to us, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Same as this verse. Krishna is the source of all energies, the source of all incarnations. Yes, that Arasabra Brita, all other living entities were meant to serve Krishna. That Krishna Suryasama Mayahaya Andakar, Krishna is like the sun, Maya, or illusion. That's like darkness. And so he says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in abodes built of spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees and served with great reverence and affection, by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. So this book, Srimad Bhagavatam, this is a special incarnation of Krishna for this age. Right? If we just go forward a few verses in the same chapter, that says Krishna Svadam Upagate Dharma Jnana Dibisaha Kalarnasham Jushamesha Purnako Dunodita, that the Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, and it's revealed itself upon the apparent disappearance of Lord Krishna. It's revealed himself. So this Bhagavatam, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that's an incarnation of Krishna that we're especially recommended to connect with, to realize who we are as spirit soul servants of Krishna's. It's described in the Upanishads. Idi shota shatkam nam nam kali kalmasa nashanam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Particularly in this age, for self-realization, to liberate ourselves from bodily misconception, to realize who we are, spirit souls, Jivaras Hupuri Krishnera Nichida, servants of Krishna, servants of God. We're recommended chant this mantra, and that's our spiritual master, our link to Krishna's parampara. Parampara means chain of pure devotee spiritual teachers. Prabhupada, he's given us that. Okay, if we want to substantially do spiritual life, chant this Maha Mantra. Yeah, okay, so I'm just this is throughout the day. It's like a special day. Particularly recommended chant extra rounds, whatever our vow is, chant extra rounds. Special day, read Krishna book, like 89 chapters of Krishna's pastimes. And I thought for here this morning to read this verse, which provides a context for why are we getting so excited about Krishna's birthday? Okay, Krishna is the goal of the Vedas. He's the pilot of the Vedas. He's the foundation of all existence. And it's like this we have our Chaitanya Charitamrita study group. Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami references this verse many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We just read chapter 25 of Madhya Lila. Lord Chaitanya uses this verse to establish. That's why, like, Krishna's, the demigods are extraordinary beings. And Krishna's not another demigod. The avatars, they're much higher functions in creation than the demigods. And Krishna's not just another avatar, another incarnation. Krishna's the source of all incarnations. So this, like, we focus on this verse, great verse to learn. Ete Chamsakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swam. Especially the first two lines. Prabhupada quotes it a lot, like one of the most quoted verses. So this can just rid rid our minds of all confusion and muddleness. Well, it says this, the Vedas, but yoga, and we can just okay, and that we can understand how all the dots connect by getting what Sutta Goswami is saying in this verse. Ete Chamsakla Pumsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Ridyanti Yuge Yuge. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. What's that? Kvitranaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanartaya Samavama Yoga. Yeah, this is like a parallel verse to that verse in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita just what Sutta Goswami is saying here. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your presence and attention. And I welcome if anyone wants to share any comments, realizations, inspirations, ask any questions at this time. Priya.
So the portions or the parts of the plenary portions, those are like Shakti Vaishavatars?
Yeah. I mean, it gets into a whole science, and I'm not particularly expert in the science, but it gets into Shakti Vaisha. All the above are either plenary portions that could be like the Vishnus, the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, or portions of the plenary portions that I think gets into like the Shakti Vaisha avatars, like that. Because Shakti Vaisha avatar gets complex, because if we read, we can, in some places there are some Shakti Vaisha avatars are clearly Jiva Tattva, like us. Some Shakti Vaisha avatars are Vishnu Tattva. But even the Vishnu Tattva avatars, they come through the Purushas. Even when Krishna becomes an avatar and descends from Goloka Vrindavan to here, he goes through Vishnu, and that's why sometimes there's a misconception, which has some truth, that Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. Well, Krishna is the source of Vishnu, but it's true, he kind of comes through Vishnu when he chooses to appear. So there's some complexity. There's lots here we didn't even begin to touch on in this verse and purport. Any other comments or questions, in person or online?
There's, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs, then recently, I don't remember where I was reading what, but it stressed the importance of Janmastami.
It stresses, okay, yeah.
And it stressed the importance of fasting.
Yeah.
And celebrating, and I want to hear more about that. Yeah, like what's represent for me is just the message of Krishna that he came to manifest his pastime, to birth.
Sure.
Of course, it's because he's eternal, he doesn't have any birth, but still we celebrate his appearance.
Yeah.
And then it's very major. It's a major holiday.
Major, yeah.
It's quite major holiday and a major benefit from celebrating that holiday.
Yeah, thanks for that, Melanie. You're referencing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, referencing the importance of Janmastami and of us celebrating it and honoring it. And Srila Prabhupada, he emphasized these special bhakti holidays, and we could say arguably Janmastami is number one, Although we might say tomorrow is number one, different perspectives. But certainly Janmastami argue, and it's not just about right. It's not like, oh, it's July 4th, we go on picnic today. Or it's Christmas. What'd you get for Christmas? Or like that. And the idea is like you're saying, like to deepen our appreciation for God, not just God. God's like this impersonal, it's the generic entity, like person, but Krishna, the person he personally appeared out of. He has no reason to do it for himself, but out of compassion for us. And Satatam Kirti Antamam Yatantas Chatri Davrata Namishantas Chamam Bhaktam Nityayutta Upasate. And Krishna is encouraging us, chant my names and be involved in kirtan and chanting my names for your bliss, for your bliss. And so it's like the idea is for an aspiring servant of Krishna, every day is a day to deepen our inspiration to serve Krishna. And then especially Janmastami, like a special day, we're encouraged. The idea of fasting is not like to torture ourselves. The idea is to focus less on bodily stuff and more time for chanting and reading and more absorption in spiritual life and getting a taste for that. In the Judaic tradition, the idea is, well, every day is a day to remember God, but the Shabbat, right, on the Shabbat, that there's 37 categories of forbidden activity. And the idea is it's a special day to study Torah, like that. And so Prabhupada, he gave us, I'd say about 18, 19, maybe 20 particular special festival days. And he wants us to, he said like he could give us 40 or 50 or 100, but at the same time, he didn't want us to get too distracted from the regular daily program and service. But that these festival days, they're days to immerse ourselves in these wonderful personalities. Today, Sri Krishna himself, through increased sadhana, chanting, and to focus in, and that's what's happening in Bhagavatam. It's just like for 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami, and all the sages surrounding, they're just like, okay, we're focused in, container, and they're all like Maharaj Parikshit. From the time he's a child, he's playing with Krishna toys. Right? I mean, he's already Krishna conscious, but now he's just like deeper focus, 100% focus, the philosophy of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna. So we get to follow that in our lives, and especially on a day like Sri Krishna Janmastami, deepen our appreciation. And there's a common saying to know him is to love him. So that's especially true about Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the person of Godhead. So we get to know Krishna more by like this sort of discussion, and then love means service, and then to deepen our, let me give my life to serve Krishna. And of course, the way to do that, how do I know how to serve Krishna? We hear from Krishna's pure devotee. That'll probably be our focus tomorrow. Krishna's pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So so these days they're, I know myself, I just think of my childhood, teen years I grew up with, it's a holiday, it's a national holiday, it's a religious holiday. But it was just like a formality. It's a day off school, okay? Like that. In bhakti, nothing's meant to be dry ritual. Everything's meant to deepen our essential connection with self and meaning of life and joyful service to Krishna. And today's a special day for that.
Yeah, you said Maharaj Parikshit, but it's because he was a devotee that he was able to hear for 7 days.
Yeah.
Because, that's, we can look at it from the first, like, even so, like, he was a devotee listen.
Yeah.
But that's really because he was a devotee.
Yeah.
For someone to absorb themselves so deeply, they need to be very advanced.
Yeah.
So we knew about Krishna, and the more we know about Krishna, the more we want to hear about Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he knew so much about Krishna that he couldn't stop hearing about Krishna.
Yeah.
And then his thirst or hunger or sleepiness just were taken
When-
away
yeah.
because you cannot stop. Devotee cannot stop hearing about Krishna.
It's a wonderfully spiritually healthy addiction.
Yeah. And looking at Janmastami, there is a way of looking at Janmastami as, okay, Krishna come on earth to manifest his pastime for our benefit, like that. But also it seems that another way is Krishna come out of his free will to enjoy his pastime.
To enjoy his pastimes, yeah.
And then, of course, the two are very interconnected,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
at the same time, they are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sharing because for many years, Janmastami are kind of being overshadowed by Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja.
Yeah.
And this year is not an exception to that.
Right.
And, I wonder, like, why Krishna, arranged that, co-created that with Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
To Srila Prabhupada be born on that soul,
Yeah.
because I imagine, celebrating Janmastami and independently, it may be lasting 2 days.
Oh yeah,
To
for
do
sure.
because Prabhupada, he shares that
Yeah.
you have Janmastami and it's a fasting, and then even the feast is Ekadasi.
Yeah.
But the feasting for Janmastami is the next day.
Oh,
for
not
Lord
notes, but
Soul.
yeah.
And the feasting happened because it's Srila Prabhupada that you
Right.
say. And I always wonder, is it, is that overshadowing that I'm experiencing? Yeah, like that.
How come they co-created that?
Yeah, how comes it co-created that?
Sure.
Yeah, I remember Janmastami when I stopped living in temples or being involved in temples. It kind of became a place where I do austerity, sacrifice, I hear and chant a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's not like a festive,
Mhm.
same than Vyasa Puja.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can conjecture about how come Prabhupada appeared the day after Krishna's appearance.
Yeah, because even his parents, go and Prabhupada's father and Rajni,
Rajani, Prabhupada's mother,
Rajani.
Rajani.
That, they probably were not celebrating Janmastami too much when Prabhupada came. I imagine.
Yeah, well, as I shared, I had certainly big celebration Janmastamis, but that was more in my early days. And even after my Villa Vrindavan Italy days, and when we were running this Bhakti Education Center in Osofia, Arab village, Osofia, we had a big Jamash, so lots of Druze and Muslims and Christians and Jews, some of them too, and then in the temples and I remember for one Janmashtami was in Osofia, and there was many of the ladies were in the kitchen preparing prasad all day, and I went to the forest and I chanted 64 rounds. And after that, I strolled into the kitchen. I go, "Did you finish 64 rounds?" Of course, for them, it was like the hardest day of the year to complete 16 rounds. Somehow they didn't get my humor. I don't know why. So, but yeah, after my temple days also, then, changed a bit.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments? Shri Krishna Janmastami ki.
Jai.
Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.